Devi Mahalakshmi Polytechnic Titwala, Department of Computer Engineering and Information Technology, Semester 5th, Subject Operating System. Chapter 4, CPU Scheduling and Algorithm. This chapter is given for 14 marks. Now, CPU Scheduling. Learning outcome of this video. Justify the need and objective of job schedulings with a relevant example. Explain with example the procedure of allocating CPU to the given process using the specified OS. And calculate turnaround time and average waiting times of the given scheduling algorithms. The learning objective is to understand the basic concept of CPU scheduling, to study types of scheduling, and to learn types of scheduling algorithms, as well as to study basic. The assignment of physical processor to processes allow a processor to accomplish work. In multiprogramming environment, many processes are in memory. The problems of determining when processor should be assigned and to which processes is called processor schedulings or CPU scheduling. CPU scheduling is to determine when and on what the processor each process has to run. In other words, CPU scheduling is the process of selecting a process and allocating the processor to selected process for execution. It is important because the overall system utilization and performance as well as the response time of processes depending on how the processes are scheduled to run. The need for the scheduling. Process scheduling is an essential part of an multiprogramming operating systems. Such operating systems allow more than one process to be loaded into the executable memory at a time. And loaded process shares the CPU using time multiplexing. A typical process involves both input-output times and the CPU times. Some concept of schedulings. Schedulings is an important function of an operating system. The process schedulings is the activity of the process manager that handles the removal of the running process from the CPU and the selections of another process on the basis of a particular strategy. The schedulers is the kernel component responsible for deciding which program should be executed on the CPU. A scheduler selects a job or task which is to be submitted next for the execution. When it receives the control, the scheduler the program. The figure shows the scheduling. For a CPU scheduling, several programs await allocations of the CPU. The scheduler selects one of these programs for executions on the CPU. A preempted program is added to the set of programs waited for the CPU. Process execution begins with a CPU burst that is followed by an input-output burst which is followed by another CPU burst, then another input-output burst, and so on. Eventually, the final CPU burst ends with a system request to the terminate execution. Figure shows the CPU input-output burst. So, it is the followed by input-output burst which is followed by another CPU burst and another input-outputs and followed by another CPU burst, and it's so on. So, an input-output bound programs typically has many short CPU bursts. A CPU bound programs might have a few long CPU bursts. It is the process of selecting a process for the ready queue and assigning the CPU as it. CPU scheduling algorithm decide which of the processes in the ready queue is to be allocated to the CPU. There are the 4 actions performed in this CPU schedules burst cycle. The first action is join the ready queue and wait for the CPU service. Second is execute for the durations of the current CPU burst or for the durations of the time slice. Third action is join the input output queue to wait for input output service or return to the ready queue to wait for more CPU service. In fourth action, terminate. Next is CPU scheduler. The short-term scheduler or the CPU scheduler selects a process from the processes in a memory that are ready to execute and allocates the CPU to that process. CPU executes a large number of jobs or tasks. CPU scheduling is the basis of a multi-programs OS. By switching the CPU among the processes, the OS can make the computer more productive. In a single processor system, only one process can run at a time. Any other must wait until the CPU is free and can be rescheduled. The objective of multiprogramming is to have some process running at all time to maximize CPU utilization. A process is executing, and if it required some input-output operations in a simple computer system, the CPU then just sits idle. All this waiting time is wasted. No useful work is accomplished. With multiprogramming, we try to use this time productively. Several processes are kept in memory at one time. When one process has to perform input-output, the OS takes the CPU away from that process and gives the CPU to another process. Process pattern continues. Every time one process. Next is preemptive scheduling. CPU scheduling decisions may take place under the following 4 circumstances. When a process switches from the running state to the waiting state, for example, as the result of an input-output request or an invocation of wait function for the terminations of a child process. When a process switches from the running state to the ready state, for example, when an interrupt occurs. When a process switches from the waiting state to the ready state, for example, at a completion of input-output. And fourth condition is the when a process terminates. A preemptive scheduling allows a higher priority process to resource a operating system. If a higher priority process it enters the systems, the currently executed systems is depends on the priority, and the CPU transfers the control to the higher priority process. The currently running processes may be interrupted and moved to the ready queue by the OS. Windows 95 introduced the preemptive schedulings. The Mac OS X operating system for the Macintosh operating system schedulings. The preemptive schedulings algorithms is based on the priority, and the advantages of preemptive scheduling models is that depends on the higher priority. For conditions 1 and 4, the conditions I have told about that. Conditions 1 is the when a process switches from the running state to the waiting state. So, and fourth state is the when a process terminates. So, the for a conditions 1 and 2 is there is no choice. A new process must be selected. And after that, the for condition 2 and 3 is there. if their choice is clear. Then second is the when a process switches from the running state to the ready state. And third, next is the dispatcher. The dispatcher is the module that gives the control of the CPU to the process selected by the scheduler. The switching context, switching to user mode and jumping to the proper locations in the newly loaded programs. Dispatcher is another component that is involved in the CPU scheduling functions is the dispatcher, which is the module that gives the control of the CPU to the process selected by the short-term scheduler. It receives the control in kernel mode as the result of an interrupt or a system call. They are mainly responsible for selecting the jobs to be submitted into the system and deciding which process to run. It is a module. It connects the CPU to the process selected by the short-term scheduler. The dispatcher needs to be as fast as possible as it is a run on every context switch. Dispatch latency is the amount of times required for the scheduler to stop one process and start. Next is scheduling criteria. For scheduling purpose, the schedulers may consider some performance measures and optimization criteria. Different CPU scheduling algorithms have the different properties and many favor one class of a processor over the another, which characteristics are used for the comparison can make a substantial difference in which algorithms is just to best. In choosing which algorithms to use in particular situations or conditions, the properties of various algorithms must be considered. Many criteria has been suggested for comparing the CPU scheduling algorithms criteria, which are there are several different criteria to consider when trying to select the best scheduling algorithms for a particular situation and environment, including the first is CPU utilization. CPU utilization is defined as the percentage of time the CPU is busy in executing a process. For higher utilization, CPU must be kept as busy as possible. That is, there must be some process running at all times. CPU utilizations may range from 0 to 100%. In a real system, it should range from 40% to 90% something. Next is throughput. If the CPU is busy executing processes, then work is being done. One measure of a work is the number of processes that are completed per times unit, called the throughput. For long processes, this rate may be one process per hour. For short transactions, throughput might be 10 processes per second. Throughput is defined as the total number of processes that a system can execute per unit of time. The next is turnaround time. It is the difference between the time a process enters the systems and the times it exits the system. From the point of view of a particular process, the important criterion is how long it takes to execute that process. The interval from the time of submissions of a process to the time of completions is the turnaround time. Turnaround times is the sum of the periods spent waiting to get into a memory, writings in the ready queue, executing on the CPU, and doing input-output. Turnaround times is defined as the amount of time that has rolled by from the time of creations to the terminations of process. Next is the waiting time. The CPU scheduling algorithm does not affect the amount of time during which a process executes of and does input output. It affects only the amount of time that a process spends waiting in the ready queue. Waiting time is the sum of the periods spent waiting in the ready queue. Waiting times is defined as the time spent by a process while waiting in the ready queue. Next is response time. Response times is defined as the times elapsed between the moment when a user initializes a request and the instant when the system starts responding to this request. In an interactive system, the turnaround time, it's called as the TAT, may not be best criterion. Often a process can produce some output early and can continue computing new results. Unlike the rate monotonic algorithms, EDF scheduling does not require that process be periodic, nor must a process requires a constant amount of CPU time per burst. The only requirement is that a process announces its a deadline to the scheduler when it becomes runnable. The appeal of EDF scheduling is that it is theoretically optimal. Theoretically, it can schedule the process so that each process can meet its the deadline requirements and the CPU utilizations will be 100%. In practice, however, it is impossible to. Thank you.